Hello, and welcome to another video about this one is going to be about adding in warps and wefts. And as you can see, this is where we left off in the last video of starting our spider. So um, this will apply to a hat as well as to a basket. These warps are too short to be a hat, so this is going to be a basket, but the same techniques about adding in the warps and extending either weft will apply to both the hats and to baskets. Okay, so I'm going to weave here yet another row. And it's because the warps here already look they do not look far enough apart yet to add in a warp, and none of these wefts, either these ones, the one with the white colored or natural colored elastic, it's getting a little short here, so I'm going to undo it. And I'll be looking at you here, the audience, and then every now and then I'll be looking at my hands. Okay? So, put that back on. So now we got another 2 feet to work with, right? We're just going to continue working with that, twining, over and under, switch, over and under, switch, over and under, switch, over and under. Yeah, so that's going to be very repetitious. And so the first 4 rows was all about fanning out the warps so that we have 16 instead of 8. So now we have not a spider, but we have a star. And as we go around, as we weave around or twine, we'll be making sure all these warps are evenly spaced. So we got to move them to the left or to the right, depending, so that they're all evenly spaced. Okay? And we want all these little stitchings, these little things here, so we get a better light on it, right? They're all the same size, the same length, all these stitches or little twinings, okay? They're all going to be the same size. So if they get too long, that means it's time to add in a warp. Okay, right now they're all about the same size, so we'll keep on twining. In a minute, I'll show you how to add in a warp. Okay, so we've got to do the repetitious part here of over and under, switching, over and under, switching, over and under, switching, over and under, switching. Now, you may not be going as fast as a beginner, but that's all right. Most of the time is spent for you learning, which is 90%, and then 10% doing. So then once you're no longer learning and you're just doing it, then it'll be 90% doing and 10% learning. And you won't have to think about it as much. So, okay, so I'm weaving about 3 rows here. And I'm going to extend this red one, this orange red one, because it's getting way too short. So I'm going to take the elastic off. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to get it wet. It's all nice and bundled up. Just get that out of the way. Bundle it back up so I have another couple feet to work with, right? Okay. And make sure the camera is in view here. Let's continue weaving. So far, all the twining looks fine. No need to add in yet. Make sure your weft is all nice and flat. Keep on twining. Okay, so I'm sorry we're spending the first 3 minutes of this video twining and explaining what we're going to do next. But pretty soon we're going to be adding in a warp. Okay, so make sure you have your bark soaking. Okay, got to extend this one because it's a little short. So take off about 3 or 4 twists. So I'm going to have another couple feet to work with. Put back on. Okay, so now I'll continue weaving. And here we're coming to a spot right here. It's these are the 2 vertical ones, these are the 2 horizontal ones, and these are the 2 ones that came out from underneath. So we're going to move that a little bit to the right, that a little bit to the left. We're going to put another one in there. Okay? So got to make sure our bark is wet. This is going to be the first add-in, and this is the most common add-in. This is where you're going to be adding in 2 warps. Okay, so now I got the 2 wefts here, and this is the place I want to add in a warp. Not here, but here. Okay, so I got the 2 wefts on this side, on this left warp. This is the right warp, and in between we're going to be adding in one. So here we got in our bucket, we had one soaking, and I'll take the elastic off. Okay, now we're going to go find our middle. Oh, that's a pretty long one, so let me actually save that. Choose another. So we're going to have to cut it. Okay, so we got another one here. So I'm going to fold it in half, right? Since this is going to be a basket, but you would do the same thing for the hat. You want to make sure it's long enough. And then we're going to make when we fold it in half, this will be the top. And my left hand here will be the bottom. Okay, my right hand is the top. And it'll be fanned out a little bit to the right. Okay? Now, for the purpose of demonstration, okay, I'm going to make a little mark here. Okay, about a 1/4 inch from the end here, about a 1/4 inch there. That's about a 1/4 inch. Okay. We don't have to do this every time. I just want to show you that we're going to hide that mark underneath. Okay. And then this is the new piece that we're adding. So the top half. This is the top half. We're going to hide that underneath this right warp. Okay, so let's tuck it in proper and hide it underneath. Okay, so there we go. It's properly underneath. And this is the most common way to add in warp so that they're hooked in. So we take our left weft, which is going to be our orange one. We're going to go underneath that new warp. Okay, no twisting. Fold it out of the way. And then with this, the new left, which is the other one, the white one, we'll go between and under both of these. Okay, we're going under both of them. And then we'll snug it all up and line them all up so they're all evenly spaced. And we'll continue until we get to the next spot where we're going to add in a warp. Okay, so that's the first way to add in a warp. It's to fold it in half, and we're going to add in two and hide one underneath an existing warp. Okay, but now let's say you got a short warp. It's not long enough to fold it in half. Okay, so let's see if I can find one here that fits that description. We got a short one here. Undo it. It's more like a weft. So thin. Okay, so that's a weft. Wrong piece. There it is. Okay, this is a short one. Okay, here we go. So now I can't fold this one in half. It's a little bit too short. So we're going to kind of line it up. And I'm going to make a little hook here. Okay, instead of fighting in the middle, I'm going to make a little hook. And the hook is the short part of that hook is going to be on top. So if you could flip it around, you might want to see it that way. It doesn't matter. Okay, so the short piece is on top and the long piece is on the bottom. If we stack them on top of each other, this is on top of that. The short piece is on top of the bottom piece. Then we're going to tuck it in that little 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and then we're going to hide the short piece underneath this warp beside it. Okay, so this is the second way to add in a warp. It's almost like the first, except we're not folding in the half, we're just folding the top part. That way, it's hooked in, so that when I'm ever adjusting these things and pulling it a little bit, it won't come out. And you don't want to know what happens when it comes out, because then you're going to have to somehow stitch it through all those wefts. So it's better we hook it, and this is the other way to do that. And you don't have to cut off that bottom one. We'll just keep weaving over it, and it'll reinforce and make that warp a little stronger right there. And then rearrange it so that it's all evenly spaced again. Right? Keep going around. Okay, now we're going to come to the third way of adding in a warp. Now, one of these warps happens to be a little thicker than all the other ones. They're all the same width, but it's thicker. You know, it's twice as thick. So I'm going to take my, not my darning needle, because the darning needle doesn't have a sharp point to it. So we're going to use our sewing needle, which has a sharp point to it. And we're going to split this. So it'll have the same width, but it'll be thinned out. Okay? So I'm going to not go through the top or through the bottom. We're going to go through the side of it. Okay? I'm going to go through the side here. So it's neither on the top and neither on the bottom. It's right in the middle there, right in the side. And we're going to go all the way up. And we're going to go right to the middle there, bring it back and undo the end. Now we have two warps. Now this is the third way to add in a warp, is to thin out an existing warp. And so I fan the top half to the right and the bottom half to the left. And we're going to continue twining. That's another way you can add in a warp, is to thin one out. Okay, so here we're going to go under the bottom half. And then we're going to go under the top half. And then we just continue weaving. Now the fourth way, which can happen, is one of these sometimes tends to break, right? You end up cutting somewhere by accident, and oh, look at that. It looks kind of like it's going to fall off. So you might as well just kind of strip it off, right? And trim that little piece off, that little hair. And then we're going to add in another warp, a new warp. That's the right length, okay? We're going to lay it on top. Except this time, at the top, we're going to make an overhand knot here. We're going to go over. So, like this, you go over, and then through the loop, and under. So they call that an overhand knot, because we're going over, and then we're pulling it tight into a little knot. And then we're going to put it on top of that broken warp, okay? See that? It's lying right on top of the broken warp now. And we're going to continue weaving. Let's do the warp before it first. Okay. And I'm going to undo this one, make it a little bit longer again. So I got some room, some weft to work with. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'll slow down after I get this elastic on. Okay, here we go. We'll put the new warp on top of the old one, the one with the knot. Take our left weft, which is the orange one, and we'll go under both, the old one and the new one, together. We'll treat those two warps as one now, as a pair. And then we'll hold it in place, okay, and stop. Then we'll take our other weft, the one that has white, we'll go over both of them and under the next one. And then we'll continue weaving. We'll never trim that that knot off until you're done the hat, because you don't want to accidentally pull it out, right? So now you can't pull on this and it won't come out. Okay, so you always want to have these little safeguards. Some people will put it underneath and not do the knot, but then they have to be extra careful not to pull on it. Okay, but I like to put it on top because it's always covering the one below it, so that when we cut off that knot, we won't see where we added in this warp. And it's always a good idea to hide all your transitions as much as possible. So there's one more way to add in a warp. You see the 4 ways. One is folding the new warp in half so that you're saving half of that warp for later. Another one is adding the hook, right? Putting the hook in. And then we're just going to keep on weaving that together until we don't see the hook anymore. It just gets kind of hidden in the weaving. And the other way of splitting a thick warp into 2. And the 4th way is tying that knot on it and laying it on top of the broken warp. And the 5th way, comes in surprise because we probably won't need it till about the 3rd or 4th row after adding it. Meaning that we've already put it in place and now we just got to utilize it. And it's one of the first ones that we did, and we're going to change it. Okay, go under both of those. All right, here, that little stitch here is getting a little long, and this happens to be a double or a paired up warp. So this is the 5th way of adding in a warp, is looking for one that's already hiding underneath another warp and fanning them out. So we always fan out the bottom of that pair to the left and the top to the right. Okay? So you gotta sometimes give it a little work the ones beside it, so it's not jammed in there. We take that left weft, go under the bottom half, go between the 2 halves of the pair. Okay? Now if it's tough, you can move this right one warp out of the way so you can get that weft right up against your circle, and then you can take that right warp back down, and then you're finished. We'll just leave that one there for now, and then we're going to grab the other one, the new left here, which is the orange, and go between that pair and under the top half or the right side, snug it up, and then we're going to continue weaving. So those are the 5 ways of adding in new warps. Okay, and we're going to be doing that throughout the basket and the hat. Okay, so we're going to extend this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we got a nice length to work with. And then I'm going to continue weaving. Now at some point, these will get so short, the bundles will be non-existent, and we're going to need to add in some wefts. So this is the last half of the video where I'm working and I'm forgetting to keep my wefts wet, okay? Which is not good, because when you forget to keep your weft, this 1/8 of an inch strip of bark, if you don't keep it wet, you know what happens? It starts to get brittle. And it starts to fray and it starts to crack. And before you know it, you have one of them breaking on you. So you keep on weaving, even though it's just one of them. This natural colored one is still there. It's just the orange one broke, so we're going to keep on weaving until it's short enough so we can add it back in. Okay, it's still too long. And here we go. It's just about short enough, one more. And then we'll extend it. Now, when I'm extending this, I like to keep the short one, the short weft here on the right, and the old long one, right, that didn't break yet, on the left. Okay, so we'll keep that here. Then we'll grab that other half that broke off. Okay, we'll leave that, and instead of finding the middle, we're going to make a little hook. Okay, so the hook is going to be just as long as this short one is now. It's about an inch. Okay, and we're going to hook that warp. Okay, hook it. And we want it closer to the circle than the old pieces. Okay, the short piece here is on the left, and the new one, and the new long piece, right, or the part that broke off, is the long part is on the right. And this is the short part of that right one that broke. So I'm going to lay that on top of it and hold it down with our middle finger. Then I'll take the hook from the new one. We'll place it down first and place the old one on top of it, the old weft of that white one, and then go underneath the next warp, whether it be a pair or a single, we'll go under it. Just in this case, it's a pair. And then we'll continue to treat that short one and the long one as one piece. Fold it out of the way, and then we're going to switch to the orange one here. And we treat it as a pair. The short and long one go over one warp on the next warp, and we can twine like we normally do until those short pieces disappear in the twining. Okay? And so that's how you fix a weft that is broken on you, is by overlaying it and then continue to weave like you normally would. Okay? And so the final way to add in a weft is when you run out. It's when these ones get really short. So now the orange and the white have come to an end, and these are the same length. Okay? So now we want to add in a whole new weft. So we're going to keep on going again till they're a little shorter. We don't have to overlay them with the new one too much. Just go weaving around and around. Looks like next row I might have to add in here a warp. But right now I don't want to add in and extend the weft add in a warp and extend the weft at the same time. Okay, it looks like somehow the left is still longer than the right, so trim them to the same size. And these are about 1 inch long. Okay. So now we'll grab our new weft. We're going to find the middle. We'll take that off. Find one end. There's one end. Now we're going to find the other end. There we go. Okay. And there's our middle. So now we're going to hook it on that warp that these two wefts are between. So this is the second way. We find our new, the middle of our new weft, and then we're going to hook it. Much the same way, except these are both long and these old ones are both short. So I'm going to put the short ones on top of the long one here. Then I'm going to take the long left one, place it, and then put the old short one on top. Weave them together as one until the short ones are disappeared in the twining here. That way you don't have to trim them off, and it looks a little more seamless, like you've been using one piece instead of two or three. And then just keep on weaving, and we're going to hide those little pieces right in the twining. And so that's how you do it. You're adding in your warps, 5 different ways, and how to extend your weft. And how to add in a new weft. And basically, that's all you really need to know how to make a basket or a hat. If you intend to twine it the whole way. So I'd like to thank you all for joining me and watching this video. And I'd like you to stay tuned for more videos on what to do to change patterns, how to do different techniques like twill. We're doing the twine right now, how to end. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, visit my blog, and we'll see you again maybe in class. Cheers. How